The Zafira Valley woke up like any other Thursday. Rangers sat in the control station sipping coffee, watching drone feeds flicker across 3 monitors. Tour guides were loading passengers onto jeeps for the Sunrise Wildlife Run. Everything felt routine. At 6:47 a.m., a security alert screamed across every screen. Rangers bolted upright. A thermal signature appeared in the restricted western zone, bright white against the gray savanna. 2 signatures, actually. One large, one impossibly small. The lead ranger, Ethan Cole, grabbed his radio. "All units, we have movement in Sector 7. Unauthorized entry. Repeat, unauthorized." Within minutes, vehicles tore across the valley floor. Radios crackled with voices talking over each other. A junior ranger named Kira reached the location first. Her voice came through shaky, breathless. "Control, I need backup. We have a casualty here." A pause. "And something's alive." The drone feed zoomed in. Everyone in the control room went silent. A mother albino gorilla lay motionless in the tall grass. Beside her, a tiny infant, no bigger than a human toddler, crawled across her chest, nudging her face. The baby's cries cut through the radio static, sharp and desperate. But that wasn't what made the Rangers freeze. From the tree line, a massive figure stepped into view. White fur, golden eyes, a mane that caught the early light like fire. Ghost, the valley's most dangerous predator. The lion every guide warned tourists about. He moved toward the infant gorilla with slow, deliberate steps. Kira whispered into her radio, her hand shaking on the steering wheel. "He's going to end it." The baby gorilla looked up. "Saw the lion!" and screamed. Ghost stopped 3 feet away. He didn't crouch, didn't bare his teeth. He just stood there, staring down at the helpless creature. No one breathed. Have you ever watched a predator decide whether to strike? Every muscle in your body screams run, but you can't look away. What happened next shattered everything wildlife experts thought they knew about survival. And it turned this baby gorilla into the center of a story that would explode across the world, forcing us to question whether mercy is a human trait or something far older. Before we go any further, hit that like button and subscribe. You won't believe what comes next. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Are you in California, Texas, New York? We love seeing how far these stories reach. Now, to understand why this moment was so impossible, you need to know who these animals were. Because in the Zafira Valley, white fur doesn't mean beauty. It means you're being hunted. Ivory had lived in the Zafira Valley for 11 years, and in all that time, she'd never been invisible. Her white fur made her a beacon. Rangers tracked her movements daily. Tourists paid thousands of dollars just to catch a glimpse of her through binoculars. Scientists studied her bloodline, hoping to understand the genetic mutation that painted her snow white in a world of black and gray. She was rare, one of only 3 albino gorillas documented in all of Africa. And everyone knew her name. 6 months ago, she gave birth to Halo. The infant inherited everything: the pale fur, the pink-tinged eyes, the kind of beauty that made people stop breathing when they saw him. But beauty in the wild is a dangerous mark. White animals can't hide. They can't hunt without being seen. They can't blend into shadows when danger comes. Ivory knew this. She kept Halo close, always within arm's reach, never letting him wander beyond the safety of her shadow. Their mornings followed the same rhythm. Ivory would wake before sunrise, grooming Halo while he clung to her chest. She'd pluck insects from his fur, check his tiny fingers, press her nose to his forehead. Halo would squeak softly, pawing at her face. She'd grunt back, low and reassuring. "I'm here. You're safe." The Rangers loved them. Every morning, Ethan Cole would radio in their location. "Ivory's near the western ridge. Halo's healthy. No threats detected." It became a ritual, a comfort. The valley had lost too many animals to illegal activity over the years. Rhinos, elephants, even a family of leopards. But Ivory was protected. Armed patrols, drones. She was a symbol of what the reserve could achieve when it fought back. But symbols make valuable targets. That Thursday morning started the same as every other. Ivory sat beneath a baobab tree while Halo climbed onto her back. He babbled to himself. She reached back, steadying him. The sun climbed higher. Birds called from the branches above. Everything felt normal. Except it wasn't. 300 yards away, hidden in the tall grass, 2 men crouched low. They'd been tracking Ivory for weeks. They wore dark clothing, faces covered. One carried long-range gear. The other held a canvas bag. They didn't speak. They'd done this before. The sudden crack echoed through the valley like thunder. Ivory's body jerked. She staggered forward. Halo tumbled off her back, hitting the ground hard. He screamed. The second sound followed. Louder. Closer. Ivory collapsed, her legs folding beneath her. She tried to reach for Halo, her fingers stretching toward him, but her strength was already draining. A dark stain appeared on the white fur of her chest. Halo scrambled toward her on all fours, shrieking. He climbed onto her chest, pawing at her face. Hoo! The sound came out sharp, panicked. She didn't respond. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. He pushed against her shoulder, trying to make her move. She didn't. The men emerged from the grass, boots crunching over dry earth. One pulled out a tool. "Hurry up," the other muttered. "Drones could be close." Halo froze. His cry changed. It wasn't panic anymore. It was something deeper, something broken. He pressed his face into Ivory's fur, his tiny body shaking. The men didn't even look at him. To them, he was worthless, too small to sell. They began their work, taking the prize they came for with cold efficiency. Halo's cries filled the air, but no one came. The valley was too large, the patrols too far away. When the men finally left, Halo stayed. He sat on Ivory's chest, nudging her face over and over, waiting for her to wake up, waiting for her to hold him. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher. Flies began to circle. Halo didn't move. And then the grass behind him rustled. Something was coming. The Rangers had a saying about Ghost. If you see him, you're already too close. He'd earned his name 5 years ago when a tracking team spent 3 months trying to locate him. They found tracks, hunt sites, claw marks on trees 12 feet high, but never the lion himself. He moved through the valley like smoke, appearing only when he wanted to be seen. By the time prey realized he was there, it was over. Hyenas avoided his territory. Buffalo herds shifted their migration routes to stay clear of his hunting grounds. Even other lions kept their distance. Ghost was the largest male ever recorded in the Zafira Valley. Over 500 pounds of muscle and power wrapped in white fur that made him look like something out of a nightmare. His mane was thick and golden, framing a face that had seen more battles than most predators see in a lifetime. He didn't hunt in packs, didn't need to. He was a solitary force, and everything in the valley knew it. The grass rustled again. Halo's head snapped up. His pink eyes went wide. Ghost stepped into the clearing. He was massive, bigger than Halo could process. The lion's shoulders rolled with each step, muscles shifting beneath his coat like water under ice. His eyes locked onto the scene, Ivory's body, the dark aftermath, the tiny white gorilla sitting frozen on her chest. He didn't rush, didn't need to. He moved with the kind of confidence that comes from never losing. Halo's breath caught. Every instinct in his body screamed the same thing. Predator. He'd never seen a lion before, but he didn't need experience to recognize the end when it walked toward him. His mother had taught him through 1,000 small corrections. Stay close, stay quiet, stay hidden. But she wasn't here anymore. He was alone. Back at the control station, Kira's voice cracked through the radio. "Control, we have a situation. Ghost just entered the clearing." Her hand shook as she zoomed the drone camera in. "He's moving toward the infant." Ethan Cole was already in his truck, speeding across the valley. "How far out am I?" 15 minutes, maybe 12 if you push it." "That's too long." His knuckles went white on the steering wheel. "Can you do anything?" "Like what?" "I'm watching through a screen, Ethan. I can't—" Her voice dropped. "Oh God, the baby's moving." Halo slid off Ivory's chest. His legs wobbled beneath him. Weak from hours of sitting, but he forced himself to stand. Ghost was 30 feet away, then 20. Halo's entire body trembled. He wanted to run. Every nerve in his body begged him to disappear into the trees, but something deeper held him in place. He stepped in front of Ivory's body, planted his feet, spread his arms. It was the smallest act of defiance the valley had ever seen. A 6-month-old gorilla, no bigger than a house cat, standing between his fallen mother and a 500-pound apex predator. He shrieked. The sound came out high and sharp, more plea than threat. His voice broke halfway through. Ghost stopped. His golden eyes narrowed. He tilted his head, studying the infant like he was trying to solve a puzzle. In the control room, 3 rangers stared at the monitor in silence. One whispered, "He's going to charge." Kira's voice was barely audible. 10 seconds. That's all the baby has. Ethan's truck roared across the savannah, dust billowing behind him. He grabbed the radio. "Kira, can you scare him off? Fly the drone lower. Make noise." "If I spook him, he'll strike faster. You know that." "Then what do we do?" No one answered. On screen, Ghost took another step forward. Halo shrieked again, louder this time. His tiny fists clenched. He didn't back down. 5 seconds. Ghost's muscles coiled. His shoulders dropped. Every ranger who'd ever studied lion behavior knew what came next. The crouch before the pounce. The moment before the strike. Kira looked away from the screen. She couldn't watch, but Ghost didn't pounce. He lowered his head slowly, deliberately. His massive body sank toward the ground until his chest touched the dirt. He laid down. Right there, 10 feet from Halo. His golden eyes stayed locked on the infant, but he didn't move. The control room went silent. Ethan's voice came through the radio, frantic. "Kira, what just happened?" She couldn't answer. Her throat had closed. On the monitor, Halo stood frozen, his arms still spread, his chest heaving. Ghost lay in the grass like a sphinx, watching him. Waiting. No one had ever seen anything like it. Before we continue, we would like you to know that you don't owe us a subscription. But if this video made you feel anything at all, disappearing without supporting it says a lot. So please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It is literally the only way you tell me that the hours researching, writing and editing these stories was worth it. Now, let's get back to the story. For 60 seconds, nothing moved. Ghost lay in the grass, his massive body stretched out like he had all the time in the world. Halo stood frozen, arms still spread, his breath coming in quick, shallow gasps. The standoff felt impossible. A predator and prey locked in a moment that shouldn't exist. Kira's voice came through the radio, barely a whisper. "Ethan, he's still down. Ghost is still down." "That doesn't make sense." Ethan's truck skidded around a rock formation, close enough now to see dust rising from the clearing ahead. "Lions don't lie down for prey. They don't—" "I know what they don't do," Kira snapped. "I'm watching him do it anyway." On the monitor, Halo's arms began to lower, slowly. His pink eyes stayed locked on Ghost, searching for any sign of aggression. The lion's tail flicked once, twice. But his body remained still. His golden eyes tracked every movement Halo made, but there was no hunger in them, no calculation. Just observation. Halo took a step forward, then another. His legs shook so badly he almost fell. He stopped 3 feet from Ghost's face. The lion's head was bigger than Halo's entire torso. One swipe could end everything. Halo knew that. Everyone watching knew that. But Ghost just stared at him. Halo reached out. His tiny hand stretched toward the lion's mane, fingers trembling. He touched it. The golden fur was coarse and thick, nothing like his mother's. Ghost's ear twitched, but he didn't pull away. Halo's fingers curled into the mane, gripping it like he was testing whether it was real. In the control room, a ranger named Marcus whispered, "This isn't happening. Tell me this isn't happening." Kira couldn't speak. Her hands were pressed against her mouth. Halo tugged on the mane, pulling himself closer. He climbed. His small body pressed against Ghost's shoulder as he scrambled up, gripping fur with both hands. Ghost's muscles tensed. For a heartbeat, everyone thought he'd shake the infant off. Throw him, end it. Instead, Ghost stood up. He rose slowly, his legs unfolding beneath him with deliberate care. Halo clung to his back, fingers buried deep in the lion's mane. The infant's face was pale, his eyes wide with terror and confusion, but he didn't let go. Ghost turned his head, glancing back at Halo. Their eyes met. Something passed between them. Recognition, maybe, or understanding. No one could say for sure. Ethan's truck crested the hill. He slammed on the brakes, raising binoculars to his eyes. "No, no, no, no." His voice cracked. "Kira, I'm seeing this, but I don't believe it." "What do we do?" Her voice was shaking. "Do we sedate him? If we miss the mark—" "We'll spook him, and it's over for Halo." Ethan lowered the binoculars, his jaw tight. "We can't risk it. We watch." Ghost took a step forward, then another. He moved with impossible care, his gait shifting to accommodate the weight on his back. Halo swayed with each step, his grip tightening. The lion walked past Ivory's body without a glance. He didn't stop, didn't look back. He was leaving. Halo turned his head, staring at his mother's body as it grew smaller behind them. His mouth opened. A soft, broken sound escaped, half cry, half whimper. But he didn't let go of Ghost. He pressed his face into the lion's mane and held on. Kira's voice was barely audible. "Where is he going?" Ghost moved through the tall grass with purpose, his path cutting straight across the valley. He wasn't wandering. He wasn't hunting. He was heading somewhere specific. Ethan grabbed his map, tracing Ghost's trajectory with his finger. His face went pale. "He's moving east." "Toward what?" "Toward the main road. Toward the lodges." Ethan's hand tightened on the radio. He's heading straight for human territory. The control room erupted. Voices overlapped, shouting questions no one could answer. Why would a solitary predator carry prey toward people? Why would he risk exposure? Why would he protect something nature says is food? On the monitor, Ghost walked steadily forward, Halo clinging to his back. The sun climbed higher. Vultures began circling overhead, drawn by the scent of Ivory's body. But Ghost didn't stop. His golden eyes stayed fixed on the horizon. The Zafira Valley wasn't flat. It was a maze of ravines, rocky outcrops, and dried riverbeds that could break a leg in seconds. Ghost knew every inch of it. He'd hunted this land for years, memorized the safe paths, the shortcuts, the places where the ground gave way without warning. Now he moved through it like he was carrying something precious. Halo's grip had loosened. Exhaustion was setting in. His small fingers kept slipping from Ghost's mane, and every time they did, the lion would pause, lower his body slightly, wait for the infant to resettle. Then he'd continue. No frustration, no impatience, just adjustment. Ethan radioed ahead to the Southern Patrol. "We need eyes on Ghost's path. He's moving fast, and we can't lose him," a ranger named Lucia responded from her vehicle. "Copy that. I'm 2 miles south of his last position. What's the play here, Ethan?" "The play is we follow and we don't spook him. That baby's alive because Ghost wants him alive. We interfere, we could change that." "Understood. But if he gets near the lodges, we'll evacuate, one step at a time." Above them, the sky darkened. Clouds rolled in from the west, heavy and black. Thunder rumbled in the distance. A storm was coming, and it was coming fast. Ghost lifted his head, nostrils flaring. He smelled it. The wind picked up, bending the tall grass in waves. Halo whimpered, burying his face deeper into the lion's mane. Ghost pressed forward. The vultures had been following for over an hour now. 6 of them circled overhead, their shadows sliding across the ground. They weren't after Ghost. They were waiting for Halo to fall. Waiting for the lion to finish what nature intended. But Ghost ignored them. His focus stayed locked on the eastern horizon. The terrain grew rougher. Ghost descended into a dried riverbed, his paws crunching over cracked mud and scattered stones. The banks rose steep on either side, narrowing the path. Halo's body swayed dangerously as Ghost navigated the uneven ground. His small hand slipped. His weight shifted. He started to slide. Ghost stopped. Froze mid-step. He crouched low, pressing his body closer to the ground. Halo scrambled, fingers clawing at the lion's fur, desperate for grip. His breathing came fast and panicked. Ghost waited, completely still. Only when Halo's hands found purchase again did the lion move. He climbed out of the riverbed slower than before, his steps measured and deliberate. In the control room, Kira leaned closer to the monitor. He knew. Ghost knew the baby was slipping. Marcus shook his head. "Lions don't do that. They don't adjust for—" "I don't care what they don't do." Kira's voice was sharp. "Look at the screen and tell me what you're seeing." On the monitor, Ghost reached the top of the riverbank and paused. He glanced back at Halo, golden eyes scanning the infant's small body. Halo stared back, his expression exhausted but calmer now. Something had shifted. The terror was fading. In its place, something quieter, something that looked almost like trust. The storm hit 20 minutes later. Rain poured down in sheets, turning the dry savanna into slick mud. Lightning split the sky. Ghost kept walking. His white fur darkened as the rain soaked through, but his pace never faltered. Halo pressed himself flat against the lion's back, shivering. His tiny body was drenched, his white fur clinging to his skin. Ghost's ears swiveled back, listening to the infant's breathing. He shifted his path slightly, moving toward a cluster of acacia trees. The canopy wasn't much, but it broke the worst of the rain. Ghost stopped beneath the largest tree, standing perfectly still. Halo lifted his head, blinking water from his eyes. The rain eased above them, filtered through the branches. Ghost didn't move until the worst of the storm passed. Ethan's radio crackled. "All units, we've got tourists at the main lodge asking about the white lion. Word's spreading. Someone leaked drone footage." Kira cursed under her breath. "How many people?" 40, maybe 50. Tour helicopters being rerouted to get a better view." "Call it off. Now. If that helicopter spooks Ghost..." "Already tried. The tour company's calling it a once-in-a-lifetime sighting. They're not backing down." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Then we intercept him before he reaches the access road. Get everyone in position, no sirens, no loud engines. We set up a perimeter and hope he stops." But Ghost didn't stop. He emerged from the trees as the rain lightened, his body glistening wet. Halo clung to his back, weak but alive. The lion's path hadn't wavered. He crested a low hill, and in the distance, the main access road came into view. Beyond it, lodge buildings, vehicles, people. Ghost walked straight toward them. "Before we continue, you and most people watching right now might never see another video from this channel, all because you forgot to subscribe. So please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. It is literally the only way you tell me that the hours researching, writing, and editing these stories was worth it. Now, let's get back to the story." Ethan Cole stood alone on the access road, hands raised, palms out. Behind him, 3 ranger vehicles blocked the path, lights off, engines silent. Tourists pressed against the lodge windows 200 yards back, cameras raised. A helicopter hovered in the distance, its rotors a dull thrum against the clearing sky. Ghost emerged from the tall grass 50 feet away. He stopped when he saw Ethan. The lion's golden eyes locked onto the man, calculating. Halo stirred on his back, lifting his head weakly. Rain still dripped from both of them, their white fur plastered dark against their bodies. Ethan's voice was steady, barely above a whisper. "Easy. I'm not here to hurt either of you." Ghost's tail flicked. His ears swiveled forward, tracking every sound. Ethan took one slow step forward. Ghost's muscles tensed, but he didn't retreat. He didn't advance either. He just stood there, a living statue carrying the impossible. "I need you to trust me," Ethan said quietly. "I know you don't know what that means, but that baby needs help. You got him this far. Let me take him the rest of the way." Ghost's gaze shifted to Halo, then back to Ethan. For 10 seconds, nobody moved. Then Ghost lowered himself to the ground. Slowly, deliberately. Halo slipped forward, tumbling into the wet grass with a soft thud. He landed on his side, too weak to stand. Ethan's breath caught. He knelt down, moving carefully, every motion slow and visible. Ghost watched him. The lion's body was coiled, ready to strike if this went wrong. Ethan reached Halo, his hands hovering over the infant's small body. "Hey, little one. You're safe now." Halo's pink eyes blinked up at him. The infant's breathing was shallow, his body shaking from cold and exhaustion. Ethan pulled off his jacket, wrapping it around Halo's tiny frame. The baby gorilla didn't resist. He just curled into the warmth, his fingers gripping the fabric weakly. Ghost stood. He backed away 3 steps, then 5. His eyes never left Halo. Ethan lifted the infant carefully, cradling him against his chest. "You did good," Ethan whispered, though he wasn't sure if he was talking to Halo or Ghost. Maybe both. Ghost turned. He walked back toward the tree line, his white form disappearing into the grass like he'd never been there at all. Ethan watched him go, his throat tight. Around him, rangers emerged from their vehicles, radios crackling to life. The moment was over. But the story was just beginning. By nightfall, the footage had exploded across the internet. Someone at the lodge had captured the whole thing. Ghost carrying Halo across the valley, the rain-soaked trek, the handoff. Within hours, it hit Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. News outlets in Los Angeles picked it up first, then New York, Dallas. By morning, the video had 20 million views. A journalist named Rebecca Holt flew in from Los Angeles within 48 hours. She stood outside the Zafira Valley Medical Facility, microphone in hand. "What we're witnessing here isn't just a wildlife story. It's a fundamental question about the nature of compassion. Can animals choose mercy? Or did we just witness something science can't explain?" Inside the facility, Halo lay on a padded examination table. A veterinarian named Dr. Anya Okoye checked his vitals, her hands gentle. "He's dehydrated, malnourished, but he's alive." She looked up at Ethan, who stood against the wall. That lion carried him for over 6 miles, through terrain that should have ended them both. "I know," Ethan said. "I still don't believe it." Calls started pouring in. Wildlife donors from across the United States, Texas, California, New York, pledged funding for Halo's care. The attention was overwhelming. But Halo wasn't responding. He lay on the table, eyes open, staring at nothing. He wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink. Dr. Okoye tried formula, fruit, even honey. Halo turned his face away every time. His small body was shutting down. "He's grieving," Dr. Okoye said softly. He watched his mother fall. "He doesn't understand why she's not coming back." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then we find him a reason to survive." Outside, Ghost's story spread further. Scientists debated it. Theologians referenced it. The white lion who saved a life became a symbol. Proof that compassion wasn't uniquely human. But while the world celebrated, another team was heading back into the valley. A forensics unit tasked with investigating the scene. They reached the clearing 3 days after Ghost had carried Halo away. What they found turned the story from miraculous to criminal. Kira's voice cracked through Ethan's radio. "Ethan, you need to see this. Now!" He drove back to the site, his stomach twisting. When he arrived, Kira stood beside where Ivory had fallen. She held up 2 small metal fragments in a clear evidence bag. "Ballistics," she said quietly. 2 of them, recovered from the site. Ethan stared at the bag. Poachers. Not just any poachers. Kira's voice was shaking. "These are specialized, traceable. Someone paid a lot of money for this target." The evidence told a story nobody wanted to hear. Ethan sat in the forensics tent, staring at the items laid out on the metal table. 2 custom casings. A heavy blade recovered 30 yards from Ivory's body. Boot prints in the dried mud. And something worse. Forensic evidence on Ivory's body showing where someone had tried to claim a prize. They'd been interrupted, probably by Ghost's arrival. but the intent was clear. Dr. Okoye stood beside him, her arms crossed tight. "How much are we talking?" "For an albino gorilla?" Ethan's voice was flat. "These things sell for a fortune. The rarity drives the price up to impossible numbers." "To who?" "Private collectors. People who want exotic pieces for their homes. Status symbols." He pushed the evidence photos across the table. "There's a whole market for this. And it's not just gorillas. Albino elephants, lions, even zebras. If it's rare and white, someone wants to own it." Kira burst into the tent, tablet in hand. "We got a hit on the boot prints. One of the patterns matches a brand sold exclusively in Europe. High-end tactical gear. These weren't amateurs." Ethan looked up. "What else?" "Interpol's involved now. They've been tracking a trafficking ring operating across East Africa for the past 18 months. Ivory's case fits the profile." She pulled up a map on her tablet, red dots scattered across Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. 12 incidents, all albino animals, all taken within protected reserves. "How are they getting in?" Dr. Okoye asked. "Money." Kira's voice was bitter. "Someone on the inside is feeding them patrol schedules, camera blind spots, ranger shift changes. We have a leak." The room went silent. Ethan's hands balled into fists. So, Ivory was targeted. This wasn't random. No, they knew exactly where she'd be. They knew when patrols would be far enough away. They planned this. Kira swiped to another screen. "And here's the worst part. We traced financial transactions linked to the ring. Wire transfers from buyers in London, Dubai, Los Angeles. One payment traced back to a mansion in Texas, a massive sum, 3 weeks before Ivory was lost." "A down payment," Ethan said quietly. "Exactly. Someone ordered the hit like she was a product." Dr. Okoye turned away, her jaw tight. "A lion risked his life to save a baby, and humans hunted the mother for status." The story hit international news within 24 hours. Rebecca Holt stood outside the Zafira Valley headquarters, her face grim. "What we've uncovered is not just a tragedy, it's an industry. An underground market where rare animals are taken and sold to the wealthy. Ivory wasn't targeted for survival. She was targeted for profit." The public response was immediate and furious. Social media exploded. Hashtags trended worldwide. #Justice for Ivory. #Stop the trade. But the outrage wasn't just about Ivory. It was about the contrast. A lion, a creature people feared, a predator designed to hunt, had chosen mercy, had carried a helpless infant across miles of dangerous terrain to safety. And humans, the species that prided itself on morality, had destroyed a family for money. The moral weight of that hit hard. Ethan received a call from Interpol 2 days later. "We've made arrests. 3 suspects in Kenya, 2 in Tanzania. The ring is bigger than we thought. But we're closing in." "Good." Ethan's voice was cold. "What about the buyers?" "That's harder. Most of them operate through intermediaries, shell companies, offshore accounts, but we're building cases. It'll take time." "Time?" Ethan exhaled slowly. "Meanwhile, Halo's fading." The infant had been at the medical facility for 5 days. He still hadn't eaten. Dr. Okoye tried everything. Different formulas, soft fruits, even Ivory's favorite foods brought in from the valley. Halo turned away from all of it. He lay on his padded bed, eyes half closed, his small body growing weaker by the hour. "He's letting go," Dr. Okoye said quietly, watching him through the observation window. "He doesn't see a reason to survive." Ethan stood beside her, his face drawn. "We saved him from a predator. We can't lose him to grief." Doctor. Okoye didn't respond. She'd seen this before. Animals who lost their families, who couldn't recover from the trauma. Sometimes the body survived, but the spirit didn't. Halo was slipping away, not from injury or illness, but from heartbreak. Kira appeared in the doorway, her expression urgent. "Ethan, we need to talk, now." He followed her into the hallway. "What is it?" "I've been reviewing Ghost's tracking data, his movement patterns over the past week." She pulled up a map on her tablet. "He's been circling the medical facility every night, staying just outside the perimeter, watching." Ethan stared at the screen. "He's looking for Halo." "That's what it looks like, and there's something else." Kira hesitated. "We just received word from another reserve. They have a female albino gorilla. Her name is Pearl. She lost her own infant 6 months ago. They're willing to transport her here." Ethan's eyes widened. "You think?" "I think it's Halo's only chance." Halo had stopped making sounds. That's what scared Dr. Okoye most. Infant gorillas were vocal, grunting, chirping, crying for attention. But Halo just lay there, silent, his pink eyes staring at the ceiling. His breathing had grown shallow. His small chest rose and fell in weak, irregular rhythms. The medical team checked his vitals every hour. Physically, there was nothing wrong, but emotionally, he was drowning. "We're running out of time," Dr. Okoye told Ethan on the 7th day. "If Pearl doesn't work, I don't know what else we can do." Pearl arrived that afternoon in a specialized transport vehicle from a reserve 400 miles north. She was 11 years old, larger than Ivory had been, with the same striking white fur and gentle pink eyes. She'd lost her own infant to illness 6 months prior. Since then, she'd shown signs of deep grief, refusing to socialize, sitting alone for hours. Her caretakers hoped this might help them both. They placed her in an adjacent enclosure, separated from Halo by a reinforced glass barrier. Pearl could see him, smell him, but couldn't reach him yet. Not until they knew how she'd react. For the first hour, Pearl paced. She circled the enclosure, knuckles dragging across the floor, her eyes darting toward Halo every few seconds. He didn't move, didn't acknowledge her presence. He lay on his side, curled into a ball, his tiny body trembling. Pearl stopped pacing. She sat down in front of the glass barrier, barely 3 feet from Halo. Her hand reached out slowly, pressing against the glass. Her fingers spread wide. She made a soft sound, low, gentle, the kind of vocalization mother gorillas use to comfort their young. Halo's eyes shifted, just barely. He saw her hand on the glass, saw her face watching him. But he didn't move. Pearl tried again. She grunted softly, then tapped the glass with her knuckles. Once, twice. Her eyes never left Halo. She was calling to him, inviting him, telling him he wasn't alone. Dr. Okoye watched from the observation room, her hands pressed together. "Come on, Halo, please." Minutes passed. Pearl stayed at the glass, patient and still. Then, slowly, Halo's hand moved. Just an inch, his fingers uncurled. He lifted his head, eyes locking onto Pearl's. She didn't look away, didn't break the connection. She just sat there, radiating calm. Halo dragged himself forward. His movements were weak, uncoordinated, but he kept going. He reached the glass barrier and stopped, his small hand mirroring Pearl's on the other side. For 10 seconds, they stayed like that. 2 white figures separated by glass, connected by something deeper than blood. Ethan's voice came through the radio. "Open the barrier." Dr. Okoye hesitated. "Are you sure? If she rejects him, she won't. Look at her." Ethan's voice was firm. "Open it." The barrier lifted with a mechanical hum. Pearl didn't rush forward. She waited. Let Halo make the choice. The infant stared at her, his body shaking. Every instinct told him to retreat, to protect himself. But something else, something stronger, pulled him forward. He took one step, then another. Pearl lowered her head, making herself smaller, less threatening. Halo reached her. His tiny hand touched her arm. Pearl didn't flinch. She reached out slowly, carefully, and pulled him close. Her massive arms wrapped around his small body, cradling him against her chest. Halo collapsed into her. His face pressed into her fur, and for the first time since the loss of Ivory, he made a sound. A soft, broken whimper. Not distress. Release. Pearl held him tighter, her hand stroking his back in slow, rhythmic motions. She rocked him gently, the way mothers do when their children are hurting. Within minutes, Halo's breathing steadied. His body stopped trembling. His eyes began to close. Pearl adjusted her grip, making sure he was secure, and settled onto her side. She didn't let go. Even as the hours passed, even as the lights dimmed, she kept him close. For the first time since that morning in the valley, Halo slept through the night. By morning, he'd eaten. Just a little. Some mashed banana Pearl offered him. But it was enough. Over the next week, he grew stronger. Pearl never left his side. She groomed him, played with him, taught him to climb. She became what Ivory couldn't be anymore. A mother. The world watched the transformation. News outlets covered every update. Social media flooded with messages of hope. But beneath the celebration, a harder truth settled in. Ghost had shown mercy when he didn't have to. Pearl had chosen love when she had already lost so much. Two animals had done what humans often struggled to do: protect the vulnerable, even at great cost. Ethan stood outside Halo's enclosure one evening, watching Pearl and Halo play. The infant climbed onto her back, gripping her fur, his small face bright with something that finally looked like joy. Ghost's tracks had disappeared from the valley weeks ago. The white lion was gone, vanished back into legend. But his choice remained. He knew, Ethan said quietly. Ghost knew humans would help. Dr. Okoye stood beside him. Or he just couldn't harm something that reminded him of himself. White fur, alone, vulnerable. Maybe. Ethan's voice was thoughtful. Or maybe mercy isn't as rare as we think. Maybe we just don't look for it often enough. Halo squealed with delight as Pearl tickled his stomach. The sound echoed through the facility. Pure, unfiltered life. A sound that almost didn't exist. A sound that shouldn't exist. But here it was anyway, defying everything that tried to silence it. Because sometimes survival is a choice, and sometimes the ones who save us aren't the ones we expect. This story happened because a lion chose mercy and a mother chose love. If this moved you, if it changed how you see the world, then subscribe right now. Hit that like button. Share this everywhere. We're fighting to bring you more stories that matter. Stories that expose the truth, celebrate the good, and demand justice for the voiceless. Don't let this be the last one you see. Subscribe, share, be part of the community that refuses to look away.